Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Bundesliga show, brought to you by Over the Bar, checking in on a Friday morning for some more fantasy football delight, joined once more by Rune. Good morning. How are things on your end?
Pretty good, thanks. I've had a busy week covering Sahin's sacking at Dortmund, and really interested to see how my fellow Dane Mike Tulberg will do in the dugout this weekend. That's a big opportunity for him. A real must-watch game, I think, at Saturday afternoon there.
Yeah, absolutely, for sure. Lots and lots of chat around Dortmund this week, as one would imagine. So, I was interested to see what happens with the vacant head coach position. Lots of names mentioned, some more promising sounding than others, but we're not going to be covering Dortmund specifically. This is for fantasy football content, of course. So, good morning to everyone tuning in. And ready to get their fantasy squads ready for match week 19 of the Bundesliga. Just before we do, obviously, if you can find it in your hearts to leave a like on this video, comment along, already seeing a few people checking in, which is fantastic. Subscribe and turn on those notifications, and make sure to follow our great friends, of course, Bulinews of Rune, at bulinews.com if you find them online, and they're on all socials as well, Blue Sky, X, etc., as are we. Let's just get stuck into it, because hopefully you're going to get loads of different questions. There's quite a few from socials that we need to get to as well. So, Rune, I'll let you crack on with defenders, which are now going below at the bottom of your screen. We've had a bit of a color change, it seems, which I didn't even realize. So hopefully the colors I might change that to black, actually, just so it stands out a bit more for everyone in a second. But Rune, lead on with your defender picks for this week.
Yeah. Budget pick this week is Christian Matsima from Augsburg. I think Augsburg are one of the teams to target if you want some enablers in your team. And Matsima costs just 6 million. They're playing Heidenheim and St. Pauli the next two games. So two pretty good fixtures for Augsburg, who are in good form as well. And Matsima has done fairly well lately. He's averaged 173 points per game since the turn of the year. So I think that's fairly solid for the price. Mid-price pick this week is Joachim Mähle, who I know very well from the Danish national team, a real attacking fullback. And I think since Hasenhüttl took over, we're starting to see what he's capable of offensively as well. I think he's been contributing a bit more to their attack this season. He scored 410 points against Gladbach on match day 17. So that's just an example of what he can do, Mähle, when he's on his game. And of course, Wolfsburg have a really good game at home against Kiel this weekend, and they're also definitely one of the teams to target. I think looks like a pretty certain Wolfsburg win, and I think at 10 million, Mähle offers a lot. And then I just wanted to mention Rafael Guerreiro as my premium pick, because Alphonso Davies is out injured now, so should be pretty nailed on to start for Bayern, at least this game, probably also the next one. And I think Freiburg have really struggled against the top teams this season, so could be a good game for Bayern, especially because they want to bounce back from the Feyenoord loss as well. And if we know Bayern right, then they will probably show a reaction. Currently Guerreiro is owned by 0%, so also a very good differential, and offers some attacking prowess as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Some good points there. Rune, thank you for that. Just want to quickly say good morning to everyone checking in the comments. So Joel Poster checking in from Hershey. Obviously FPL Sam, official DNL, Sophia as well, who missed out on the midweek transfers. It's always hard to keep up with midweek. Let's get into it. I think I just want to double check if we've got any questions in regards to defenders. I know Joe asked a question, but that's on Musiala. I just want to kind of flick back through this mega thread that we had on Blue Sky. But there is one in the live chat here from Anthony. So thank you very much for your question, Anthony. Do you recommend to put a start on either Mailer or Guerrero? So yeah, obviously both in your picks, Rune. Who would you recommend? Because yeah, Mailer had a good week last week, obviously scoring a goal for Wolfsburg and looking a bit more involved in things. But yeah, as you say, Rafa, if he gets a start, Bayern want to bounce back. Freiburg, a little bit of, they kind of dropped off a little bit, haven't they? And a good few against Stuttgart at the weekend. So yeah, tricky one there. What would you recommend?
Yeah, out of those two, probably go with Mele actually, just because I have a feeling Wolfsburg could get a lot of goals against Kiel and he could be really involved. But both would be good differential picks if you want someone else than Grimaldo, for example, who I think is still the most safe star option at the back. But both in principle could do very well as differentials this week.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for that question, Anthony. Sard's checking in from Q8 as well. Great to see so many people just checking in from everywhere across the globe. It's a fantastic thing about our community that we're building and have built. Everyone getting involved from all over, which is amazing. And questioning as well from Sard saying, fancy a defender from St. Pauli for the next couple of games, maybe Eric Smith. What are your thoughts on that one, Rune? Obviously, Pauli taking on Union Berlin last game of the weekend really promises to be a tight and very important game. But chances for Pauli to maybe get some points in that one, particularly defenders against the Union side, albeit who won last week.
Yeah, definitely. Pauli are very good at the back too, which is an advantage if we're talking defenders. Unfortunately, Smith is suspended this week, so they'll have to find a replacement for him. Looks like it will be Sands playing alongside Val and Nemeth at the back. But I think Saliakas, the right wing back, is a good option if you want a defender from Pauli. He's actually been performing quite well fantasy-wise lately, and it costs the same as Smith. So a great alternative if you back them to get a couple of good results.
Yeah, absolutely. So forgive me for just staring at my phone, or I'm just making sure that this thread didn't have any mention of any defenders. I don't think it did. A few people moving out. I think this is Sam saying that he's going to maybe move out Catchy from Mines for Mailer. So that kind of covers that. Away day Joe checking in. Hope you're doing well this morning, Joe, and enjoying the show. We'll get to your question about Kimmich after Rune has run through the midfielders, which I shall now get up on screen for you all. There we go. So yeah, Rune, kick us off with your budget pick and a very talented budget pick as well to start.
Yeah, absolutely. Alexis Claude Maurice from Augsburg. I think he's been kind of a boom or bust player this season because either he's getting a brace or he's not producing anything. That's been the case a few times this season, I think. But yeah, sure, this is a good matchup for him, and at 6 million, I think can hardly go wrong with him actually. And against Union recently, he showed what he's capable of, getting 402 points. And so yeah, offers a lot for the price, I think. And games against Heidenheim and St. Pauli coming up, so you could keep him for next week as well. So just a great value pick, I think. Mid-price pick is Maximilian Arnold, who I think is the most safe option if you want someone from Wolfsburg against Kiel. It will likely be a game where Wolfsburg will be a lot on the ball, and Arnold is sort of their midfield linchpin and gets the ball a lot, makes a lot of passes, takes some set pieces as well. So that alone, I think, should give him, good foundation to pick up points. And sometimes he also scores or provides assists. So yeah, could easily see Arnold get around 200 points and maybe even more if he's directly involved in a goal. And then finally, Jamal Musiala, I think it's a good week to bring him back in, especially if you have Michael Olise, for example, who's a much bigger rotation risk. I think Musiala should be fairly safe to start this week, as Bayern will try to show a reaction to the Feyenoord game, and he hasn't played as much lately as some of the others who might need a break. So I think, would be good timing to get him in, and if you have Olise, it makes sense to make that swap and then find that 4 million somewhere else.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Maybe Jamal Musiala needs to step up and score those goals, certainly from open play that our Ari doesn't seem to be scoring right now. But more on Mr. Kane shortly. But yeah, obviously, if anyone's got any other questions in regards to midfielders, do pop them in, and we will get to them as priority as per, because we always love going through questions. That's what this show's all about. And speaking of, let's get to your question away day, Joe. What do you think of Kimmich this week? He's been scoring decent points, but might play right back. So does this potentially affect his scoring potential? Great show as always. Thanks very much, Joe. Very good point from Joe. If Kimmich was shifted to right back, he certainly wouldn't be on the ball as much. But naturally, that right back position, he'll still get forward plenty. What do you reckon, Rune?
Yeah, the problem is that Davies is out injured, so Guerrero will likely play on the left, and then Lima is suspended. So there's the right back position Bayern need to fill out. And question is Stanisic, for example, ready to start yet after his injury return? If not, then Kimmich will likely have to fill in that right back. I think this season, Company has really liked to play him in central midfield and only very rarely used him at right back. But yeah, sure, he might need to fill in there, depending on how's it looking with Stanisic. And yeah, that does affect his scoring potential, I think, because he gets so many points from making passes. And he won't be as involved. Pavlovic will probably be the one who makes a lot of those passes that Kimmich usually makes when he's in the middle of the park. But still, I mean, should still do well, should still be very involved. He's a player who wants the ball a lot, and as you say, Roy, he's going to come up that right-hand side and could swing in some crosses for Kane and the other offensive players for Bayern. So could still see him do well, but yeah, sure. I think it's better fantasy-wise when he's playing in central midfield. So he might not be as productive this week as we usually see him be.
Yeah, for sure. Am I imagining things, or did I see Sasha Bowie in training this week? I think so. He can't be too far off, although like you say, you'd imagine Stanisic would be way ahead of him in the pecking order. That is. Okay, good stuff. Thank you for that, Joe. David T checking in. I hope you're doing well. Opinion on Gittins this week. Werder is not known for a solid defence, but of course the sacking of Sahin could be a factor too. What do you think? Hard to really know what to do with any Dortmund players right now. You kind of imagine there's going to be it's not obviously a new head coach, it's an interim, so whether there's a bounce in performance levels, it's hard to tell. But Rune, would you be opposed to keeping Gittins in your team, or would you be looking to strip him out?
No, not at all. I still think he's a great pick at 10 million, and I think we could see a reaction from Dortmund. Tulberg is different kind of coach to Sahin. I know him a little bit. He's he's a bit more vocal and focus a lot on the mentality. So he's the kind of coach who can really motivate his team, I think. And could be a good interim option and something that could help Dortmund bounce back. And Werder have not been very good in defense lately. And at the same time, I think Gittins, even those tough times under Sahin, he was their standout attacking player. Always kept trying. Didn't succeed with everything, but it was very clear that that Dortmund just gave him the ball when they wanted something to happen, and then they probably over-relied a bit on him, but should still be very involved, and it's a good option, I think, for the price.
Yeah, and any game where Dortmund are at home also, gives you a bit more, well, an awful lot more confidence to their form away from home. Question in from Saad as well. Do you think that Knauf will contribute in filling the gap of Marmoush's departure? Good pick, maybe at 10 mil. Very good point. He obviously he did start the Dortmund match, didn't he, on Friday, just gone. I think he hit the post, didn't he? He had good moments. I don't think he played amazingly well, but he'll certainly be involved, whether that's the start or from the subs bench. Obviously, one player that we on the show, or particularly Mark, because of his links to Nuremberg, would love to see be involved a lot more. And someone who was involved on Thursday night, last night, was Can Ozun, who might benefit from Marmoush's departure as well. So, Rune, do you think Ozun's involvement on Thursday means that he's likely to not start, but obviously he did impress as well? So, yes, Knauf versus Ozun, maybe.
Yeah, I think Knauf should start. I think he's likely to start, even if Ozun impressed last night. But yeah, maybe in the short term, Knauf is an okay option. But yeah, we have Ozun competing for the place as well, and I don't think he can't fit the role of a straight replacement for Marmoush. It's not the same kind of player, and they're clearly looking for someone. And reports have claimed that they're trying to bring in Vahi from Marseille, and he should arrive soon as a direct replacement for Marmoush. So Knauf this week maybe an okay option, but I think long term will still come in and out of the team and just not a safe enough starter. Long term for me.
Yeah, no, that's fair, absolutely. David also saying, I'm a big fan of Amiri. Oh, well, so is Rune. And so am I. Would you keep or sell for this match day? It gets you a solid 200 points a match day, except when he gets a red card, has some juicy fixtures coming up too. So, yes, if Amiri can keep himself on the pitch, he will usually do well. I think he was also wearing the captain's armband in the absence of Johnny B as well. So hopefully maybe that extra responsibility and encourages him to stay on the pitch. And therefore, Rune, what would you reckon to keeping Amiri in the team?
Yeah, I like Amiri a lot too, both as a player and as a fantasy option as well. Because he gets you a solid 200 points, except when he does something stupid, and that's happened a few times. But hopefully he's learned from that, and a good schedule too for Mainz. So I'm definitely keeping him and getting those 200 points per game in the future.
Yes, although I do also hope that he doesn't do so well this weekend because he's playing my beloved VFB. It should be a good game, to be fair. Next up, Golem checking in, saying that he missed out on defender question, but he wants to ask whether to keep or sell Mitchell Weiser. Tricky game, of course, with Werder, and not had the most amazing start to 2025. So, Rune, would you maybe get rid of Weiser this week?
Maybe, could get someone like Mele instead, who has a better matchup. But with that being said, I could still see Weiser do well against Dortmund because of his attacking involvement, and could easily see Werder get on the score sheet in that game as well. Given Dortmund's defensive struggles, I don't think Tulberg will be able to make everything right in just a few days. They have a lot of problems. Not a bad option by any means. But the question is, do you want someone like Mele, for example, with a better matchup? That might make sense also because Weiser is not exactly that cheap.
Yeah, true. It will be an interesting matchup for Dortmund because we know they've not defended well Well, for a long time, but yeah, depending on who they have available, and it changes from week to week, really, depending on the suspensions and injuries. But maybe those kind of just don't feel that necessarily Werder are going to kind of break on Dortmund at pace necessarily, and they'll get those kind of crosses in from Weiser and Cahun and players like that into Dusk and Gruel, and whether Dortmund then at least can just be a bit more organised and deal with it slightly better. But who knows? You know, they will be tested for sure. A couple more to get through here, which is fantastic. Thank you for these. Sam said, just passing this on from who got the assist on Blue Sky. Thank you, for passing this on, Sam. Tom asked, what's up with Sturger? Great question. We all were very excited about him moving to Gladbach over the summer and assumed he would really help this Gladbach side glow up and kind of be a more consistent side. For one reason or another, it hasn't happened, and Serie A has not found ultimately that 10 role has not suited him or has not really worked at times, and therefore they've gone with this front four. Well, you've got Kleindienst obviously starting up top, usually on or out on the right. On the left has recently been Robin Hack, and then you've got Playa playing in that slot for Sturger, and he's been doing pretty well and therefore kept him out of the team. He's also maybe been a bit of a scapegoat for some games, Rune. There's been a few factors that have unfortunately affected Sturger because he's usually such a reliable fantasy asset for many people.
Yeah, I think there are several factors. If you look at what's been said about him, Roland Virkus, the managing director for sports, has made some comments, I think about a month ago, about Sturger, and he said that there's kind of the feeling at the club that he's sometimes trying to do the extraordinary stuff, the hard stuff, instead of just making the easy decision. And especially now that he's come out of the team, that's something that's that they feel is a problem. That he's trying to show what he can do every time he comes on, but sometimes he ends up like trying too hard in a way. And I think the fact that he's not even a safe starter when Honorat is out with an injury also shows that maybe Seoane doesn't consider him to be that good a fit for the way he wants to play. Looks like he wants different type of player maybe in that role, someone like Player who can make runs in behind. It's a bit more pace and maybe a bit more goal threat as well, more of a striker type of player rather than a playmaker like Sturger. So a few factors involved, but could maybe start this week against his former club Bochum. That might actually be a good game for him, actually, because it's a game where I think Gladbach will be a lot on the ball, Bochum probably sitting deep, and maybe they could use Sturger to try to open up that defense. So could see him start, but it's not certain at all.
Yeah, no, 100%. Thanks for passing that message on. Sam from Blue Sky. Anthony with a question on Angelo Stiller. A good pick for this game week. That's a tricky one. Rune, you might be more up to date on what Sebastian Hoeneß has said, but I mean, obviously, the VfB have a mighty important game on Wednesday night, so with a certain PSG in the Champions League, and therefore just half thinking myself as to what might happen from a rotation point of view, resting players, etc. Has there been any hints in any press match conferences about what he may do?
I think Stiller should be safe to start. He usually plays all games. I think there will be rotation, but at other positions, especially wing positions. Of course, Voldemar will start.
He will,
because he's been great lately, but also because he can't play in the Champions League, so that makes a lot of sense. He's not registered to play there. Same with Brun Larsen. Pretty certain he will play on the wing for that reason. Central midfield, Karasor just got a rest the other night.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, that was probably a good thing. Still think Stiller should start, and he's actually been performing really well fantasy-wise since the turn of the year. I mentioned him in my article this week, actually, because I looked at the stats, and he's been doing very well for the price at 11 million. Same kind of like similar player to Xhaka from Leverkusen in a way, and gets a lot of points from making those passes. So sort of a cheaper version of him, and I think a good pick for this game week, but could potentially be taken off early if Stuttgart get like a 2-goal or 3-goal lead at some point. They surely have the PSG game in mind. That's right, Rory.
But yeah, they have to. How can they not? I think ultimately where Stuttgart now find themselves in the league position, it's not like you throw the game, but is it the worst thing in the world if you lose one game versus if you get through against PSG? We will see. Exciting times, though, nonetheless, for Stuttgart fans. Goal Machine just wanting to ask about formation. What is the best formation now? Playing a 3-5-2 for a while, but not progressing much. I've changed to a 3-5-2 last week, I think it was. After the Marmouche news and move, because I had him temporarily. I had him, Kane, and Guirassy to start the year, but that didn't really suit me. So, Rune, what are you thinking formation-wise at the moment?
Good question. 3-5-2 has worked well for me personally, but I'm considering a 3-4-3 this week. A lot of strikers that I like, of course, Kane, but in addition to him, Amoura, close to a must-have, I think, this week. And then Kleindienst coming up at home against Bochum, also a very good one. So a lot of good strikers this week. So it depends on the match day. 3-5-2 is generally very solid because I think every week there's a lot of good options in midfield and some great picks there. But 3-4-3, 4-3-3 can work well as well as an alternative.
Yep, 100%. Good morning from Canada, says Rick. Thank you so much for watching. It must be really early in Canada because you're behind us. So yes, very much good morning. Thank you for watching, Rick. Indeed. And last question before we move the show on a little bit. Obviously, the strikers is from Sard around Carlo Bucalfa from St. Pauli. It's at 5 mil for the next couple of games to save some money on other premium options. I mean, for me, he'd have to, obviously, Pauli would need an uplift in productivity, in terms of the scoring of the goals, which they have been very much struggling with. Obviously, a matchup against Union Berlin this week promises that, they might be able to have a bit more of the ball and therefore be able to progress things a little bit more. But Rune, what do you reckon to Bucalfa? His play has done okay in spells with Pauli.
One factor is he's not even certain to start. Didn't start last week because Sands played in midfield. This week he might get the chance because Sands will probably play at the back in the absence of Eric Smith. But that's not certain. They could also play Lars Ritzka at the back and then Sands in midfield instead of Bucalfa. So it's he's not nailed on. So that's a disadvantage. And I also think if you look at his price, you would get Tom Bishop for the same money. Or you could get Claude Maris for just 1 million more, Paul Nebel for 1 million more. So I think at that price, actually, there are a few other options that I'd rather have than Bucalfa.
Yep, absolutely fair. Right, let's move on to strikers. As we've had loads of brilliant questions, so very many thanks for all your questions, some awesome ones there. As you can see now at the bottom of your screen, we've got Rune's 3 forward picks. So I'll hand back over to you, Rune.
Starting off with Phil Haas. I was actually a bit disappointed last week by Kiel's performance against Hoffenheim. And paper, it looked like a good game for them, given their win over Dortmund and Hoffenheim struggles. But Hoffenheim won that one, and Haas kind of disappointed. But still at 3 million, scored a few braces. So he's surely capable of scoring goals. Kiel generally are quite good going forward. So I think at the moment, if you want a budget option up front, I think he's the best pick and the only one I would really consider. Then I mean, you could go with someone like Thiago Thomas for 7 million, but that's 4 million more, and then you would probably rather have a Mura if you're spending that kind of money. So I think at 3 million, even if I expect Wolfsburg to win, Haas remains a great option for the price. And mid price is Mohamed Mura, who I mentioned earlier. Has been in great form for Wolfsburg generally this season, been doing consistently well, and also had a good game against Bayern. Very clinical in front of goal, and just very hard to ignore, I think, this week. Then my premium pick is Tim Kleindienst, who got back on the score sheet against Leverkusen. Gladbach had some really tough games, but the schedule is looking a bit easier now going forward. Bochum this week at least, and I think he offers a lot at 12 million too.
Thank you very much for that, Rune. That's grand. Just want to check back on anything that's coming on social. So Joe, Away Day Joe, had asked about Musiala being benched last week, but hopefully we've covered that one for you, Joe, in regards to hopefully that he will probably start this week. So I think that's all of the stuff covered on socials. Plenty of mention about Kleindienst, I think, this week from a few people on Blue Sky. So who got the assist? Mentioned. I'm thinking Kleindienst over Player, but just generally fascinated as to what's going on with Sturger. So hopefully we covered that for you as well. And just a couple in the live chat, which is fantastic. Thank you for these. Let's get to them. Official DNL, another brilliant source of information, checking in about fantasy footy. Thank you for watching. Keep or sell Ekitike this week. Obviously, again, involved on Thursday night, last night with Frankfurt. Their matchup being, if I can find it, Hoffenheim away. Very much a club still in crisis. Despite their away win in Kiel, a bit of a shock, like many of us predicted Kiel would do well in that one. Tricky one this. I mean, if I had him in my team already, which I don't, I'd be tempted to keep him because I can imagine there'll be plenty of opportunities for Frankfurt to bag a few goals against Hoffenheim. What do you reckon, Rune?
Yeah, keep him. I'd say another striker I really like. So many good strikers this week. Hoffenheim are very, very leaky and they're still in a lot of trouble. As we saw against Tottenham last night, the kind of space they gave them, especially in the first half. If you give Ekitike that kind of space, then he'll take advantage of it as well. And also, it's a game I feel fairly sure Frankfurt will win that game. It's good matchup for them, and a great option up front.
Yep, for sure. Anthony has asked, are Schick and Ekitike solid options for this game week? So hopefully we've covered off Ekitike there for you, Anthony. Paddy Schick, I mean, obviously the game with RB Leipzig presents to be an exciting one. They're the only side to have tripped Leverkusen up in recent times in the Bundesliga. So Leverkusen be well wary of that. But there's still plenty to be said for Leverkusen going forward and causing Leipzig loads of problems. Rune, what do you reckon to Schick being a solid option this week?
I think he is a solid option, but it is a tough fixture, and Leipzig now are in a different state than they were before Christmas with David Raum and Xavi Simons back. I know they messed up against Bochum, but still, they're looking a lot better now, I think, than they did a few months ago. And also, I think Schick is reliant on his goals a lot, fantasy-wise. With other types of strikers like Ekitike or Kleindienst, they also get a lot of points from other stuff. But I think Schick needs goals to really do well fantasy-wise. He's also a bit more expensive than some of the other really good options with great matchups this week. So
yeah,
solid option, but I think it's worth considering whether it makes sense to sell him for someone else who's cheaper and who has a good matchup and an equal chance of doing well this week.
Yeah, precisely that. I think that's a very good point about Schick and maybe his involvement in games and the way that he scores his points for sure. Fantastic stuff. I think that pretty much draws us to a close on what's been an awesome show ahead of match week 19. There's been some wicked questions and comments this morning. So yeah, what a community we have on this show. So thank you all for doing that. So we shall leave it at that. So just a few usual little bits of admin to close up with. So if you can leave a like on this show, that'd be fantastic. If you've missed us live, leave a comment and me and Rune will try and monitor things before the Friday night kickoff this evening and obviously the close of play from a deadline point of view. Subscribe to the channel, turn on your notifications, make sure you follow in Bulinews on all socials. We're on socials as well, at Over the Bar, on Insta and X, and on Blue Sky we're down as the Bundesliga show as well, as you can see there. But yeah, thanks all for watching. Hope you enjoy the footy when it comes around this evening and enjoy it all. Hope your teams do well, and we'll be back with you this time next week hopefully, and we'll be back on Monday to review it all on Monday's pod. So yeah, we'll catch you all then, guys. Thanks very much. Cheers.
Bye.